Freaking hell, man. No way. Hello there, welcome back to my channel. My name is SKYMAN Universe, and your Star Wars quote for today. At last we reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge. And today we're going to be reacting to chapter 5 of season 3 of The Mandalorian. Last week's chapter, I loved it. It feels like so long ago actually, maybe I'm thinking of another episode, but I'm pretty sure it's the one with the raptors that were flying around in the air. I loved all that. I love that Grogu had his flashbacks to the Jedi Temple. That was it. And then of course Ahmed Best as a Jedi Knight in there as well, which I thought was just it was a nice touch. And I've still watched that scene multiple times, and I'm still very happy for him, and yeah, I think that was just a nice insertion in there as well. I think just the whole inclusion of Order 66 is just so awesome. The one thing I would slightly alter, or just a minor tweak, is that a Jedi Knight can take on so many battle droids, and it should be the same with clones really. The only reason why they were sort of caught off guard, because they were caught off guard, like they didn't know it was coming basically, so there weren't as many clone troopers to sort of take them out, and they were sort of in the crossfire, like Kiandi Mundi for example. But when it comes to seeing like 4 Jedi in a corridor and then like 4 clones come in and manage to kill them all, when they know they're under attack, yeah, I always imagined Order 66 to be Anakin Skywalker sort of doing the brunt of the work, and eventually he will get around to everyone because he's more powerful and stronger than everyone. But there's a continuous stream of expendable clones on the 501st, and that's what basically overwhelms the Jedi. It's just this onslaught, more and more clones just entering the temple. And I think that's not so well conveyed in this series. It's always just, a couple of clones in there, but I would like to, how I would have done it was, it's not something I like, it's just something how I would have done, and I would have just put way more clones in there, because you'd never want to diminish the power of a Jedi Knight. A Jedi Knight is powerful. They can deflect blaster bullets, as Nick Gillard said. They've got to be damn quick and powerful to be able to deflect blaster bolts which travel so fast. So there's always that thing in the back of my mind when I just watch things like that. And another slight tiny tweak is the lightsabers. I would go probably back to full CGI for those as well, because there's consistency with the CGI. But I don't know if they sometimes use a smaller lightsaber blade for some shots, but it always looks like it's the lightsaber length varies for some reason. I don't know why, but the reflective thing, I always think when you've got the blue light reflecting back on the person, I think we could all do that with our NeoPixel lightsabers. And I think I've always been used to sort of the CGI lightsaber, so I would very much sort of maybe alter it a bit more to something more in the CGI aspect, because the lightsabers are magical. We're not meant to, own them or have them, or have anything similar to them. And maybe the light, even though it's cool that it's reflected on someone, doesn't reflect in the way that normal light does, because the lightsaber is special. But yeah, that's a tiny thing. But going back to the Mandalorian, I love that they went to rescue that kid, and Pre-Vizsla's descendant, that was his son there as well. So that was such an awesome scene, and how they all work together, and all their jetpacks like fighting in the air in live action, and a beast, and taking it down. I thought that was spectacular. I thought it was a really exciting paced Mandalorian. It sort of included everything that I wanted it to include, the mythology, the flashback scenes, the Jedi prequel stuff with the Mandalorian and Din Djarin, his involvement with the Creed, see how the Creed operates. And to me, that's still world building, and sort of turning Grogu into a Mandalorian foundling. That is special, because that's obviously what happened to Din Djarin. Like, he had the same experience. So it's that sort of father-Yoda species relationship, father-son relationship, which I think was really nicely done. And it's touching to see them train together. But I think the elephant in the room still is the mythosaur, and Bo-Katan. She's trying to tell the forged armorer, and she wasn't really believing her. So when's she going to tell Din that, he was dragged down by it? I assume that's because of acceptance, but it could have greater meaning there as well. So that's a really cool mythological part of the story, which I loved. But I find it very strange that we've gone this far and there's no Moff Gideon. If I was going to predict something for this episode, it's gotta be Moff Gideon. Like, where the hell is he? What is the threat of the Empire at the moment? Because we haven't really seen that much. I would have thought something would have been set up a little bit earlier on to know that cogs are turning and, you know, things are happening in the background, if the Empire was going to have much involvement in this season. I know we had Dr. Pershing and things like that, but, you know, greater hands are at work. I'd like to think that anyway. But then again, like I said, as much as I want all the Moff Gideon stuff to happen, and sort of remnants of the Empire, which I love that sort of juicy story there as well, I am canon still in my Jedi Knight Jedi Outcast sort of storyline, and that supersedes the sequels for me. I will always say that, just because I really don't want them to link up with those movies. Of course, naturally it should, and that's probably what will happen, but for the sake of Luke Skywalker and his future as a Jedi Knight, and Mark Hamill, who's the most important Star Wars thing of all, I just like to think there's hope and opportunity for his character. Having Grogu with him, and then him rebuilding the Jedi Temple and Grogu not appearing in the sequels, that sort of creates something special there. Like, there could be something new. And the fact that Luke's sort of training Yoda's species in the same way Yoda's species trained Luke, it's like, it's such a touching, poetic thing. And I really hope that instead of that sort of rock Jedi temple that he was building, what we saw in the sequels, I hope it's some sort of mythical, Yavin, massive ancient temple, something that's worthy of Luke, something that's going to be among nature, show his connection with the Force with, you know, really cool visuals, but also something that's fitting, because the Jedi Temple was huge on Coruscant, and I think he should have the same sort of thing, but just somewhere else, you know. But yeah, there's so many interesting sort of opportunities if you don't go down the sequel path. But anyway, if it's going to happen on any show, I talk about it because on the Mandalorian reactions, because if it's going to happen on any other show, it would be on this show. It would sort of start giving hints and things, and then possibly Ahsoka. And by the way, anyone going to Star Wars Celebration Europe, I hope you're very fortunate with your panel ticket. I managed to get the Ahsoka stage to look back at Obi-Wan Kenobi, but that was just one ticket. But I didn't manage to get the Lucasfilm Showcase, which I'm pretty still distraught about. But anyway, let's watch this and enjoy.
Did you kill him? No, but he was sent off to the New Republic for interrogation.
Please be a Moff Gideon episode.
Problem here, Magistrate?
Not anymore. That I love that scene so much, where he kept popping up, and that pirate ship was awesome.
Never trust a pirate.
Savvy. Pirates.
It's the safety, I'll handle this.
This is where we need some sort of army.
Nobleman dressed for the pomp of his wedding feast.
Why is his mouth not working? Is there a lag?
And don't mistake my husband.
This isn't Sabak. You can't bluff your way out of this one, Gaga.
I thought you...
Don't hate.
Oh bugger. The chance of the Mandalorians to get it up.
I won't abandon my...
Pirates. Well, that's a pretty good sign. And so's that. It's cool if that's actually Scarif. I like they've got their own little rebel mess. Let's hope Dave Filoni turns up.
Listen to a pirate base.
No way. That's freaking awesome.
And forward this to Coruscant. Request permission to intercede.
They haven't returned a dispatch in weeks.
Love that so much.
Get an answer in time. I like your attitude.
That is Garazeb, isn't it? From Rebels. Freaking hell, man. No way. That is him, isn't it? Oh, and they're at Coruscant as well. This is what I wanted to see for the rebellion. Like, of the Alliance, not the Resistance. Man, but not the officers again. Please, no. Oh dear, it sort of goes to a peak and then...
No. Do not put any more stuff on that part of the desk. That's my work area.
A guy, I love him in Mean Girls. I do like that film. That teacher was hilarious.
In any event, thank you, Captain, for bringing this to our attention.
It's her
We'll see if we can
smile,
allocate some
which is just
additional
so
access.
forced.
Apologies, we can't do more.
Out there.
But
All these events, it's not quick. And by the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it'll be...
that's what you always want. If you're acting in something, you know you've delivered your line so perfectly and it has enough resonance and importance that you make it in the trailer, because then that sticks in your head when you watch the trailer. Surely if the pirates took over, that's literally the whole place destroyed already. So it's just going to be sort of mindlessly walking around. And the pirates did go after them as well. What about this rock? That'll do.
Very soon.
Is that the whole time? It's just like 5 people.
Republic.
That's all I want to be in Star Wars is an X-Wing pilot. That'd be so good. I've had that dream since I watched New Hope when I was about 6 years old. I mean, the imagery, like the iconic shit's just there. Such eye candy.
Us Mandalorians pride ourselves on our secrecy.
Fortunately, someone I served with... Thanks, R5.
The entire covert will now have to...
Do we have to watch it a third
Tomorrow's
time?
under siege by...
It's so sad to hear that theme. It's the Resistance theme. I mean, it's a great theme, but
You have my word.
it's just, with all my heart, I just don't want it to go to the sequels. The Mandalorian's different.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
I do.
I knew it was going to be Vizsla.
We should be asking ourselves is why. Because we are Mandalorians.
Didn't
I have
expect that.
had my disagreements, and I, for one, will take up arms to fight by their side. This is the way.
This is the way.
The N1 will distract the Corsair and her snub fighters as we
Yeah,
drop
we
into
saw
liberate
how
the planet below.
the N1 took out all those
Navarro,
fighters.
that makes it appealing for you to settle. You lived there once.
We're gonna
hiding
save you.
in the sewers.
We're taking over your
But now-
planet.
You can be here.
We've ever seen that before? Clone Wars. Dalton.
There's a starfighter of a
Pirate Admiral. I love how this is almost operating as an actual sort of navy ship with the cannons and the guns. Except the starfighters. He's back.
I like those odds.
I want to see Zeb again, if that was him. This is freaking awesome. Do you think they finished IG-11? My god, imagine if they did. And they fixed him. You never know. Mando, Jason Dunn.
Possible amp. We're boxed in.
No, you're not. You've got jetpacks. There we go. Comes the visitor. This is almost too satisfying to watch a bunch of Mandalorians just absolutely annihilating pirates.
He's above you! He's below you!
Awesome. Love this. I think I've just had a smile on my face throughout the whole of this. Captain goes down with his ship. This is the one.
Home. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome and thank you.
Well, we actually on the village, the town.
Remove your helmet.
You're no longer worthy to lead. Or if you've seen the Mythosaur or something.
We must all come together.
She and kneel before her or something.
You have walked.
Or maybe it's Din. Traitor.
It is time to retake Mandalore.
Good. I mean, I was hoping, when it comes to it, thousands of Mandalorians. Here comes the Moff. Dark Troopers.
Scanning.
That's kind of really eerie
There
though.
appears to be something embedded in the cabin wall. Getting close on that.
Are you saying that Moff Gideon was taken by Mandalorians?
Well, that complicates things. Well, as far as Mandalorian chapters go, that was a very good one. It kind of reminded me of the one that I like with on Tatooine with the Krayt Dragon. It was sort of an adventure. The thing with these episodes at the moment, it does feel like it's sort of veering off from Din Djarin and the Mandalorian, but then the Mandalorian name encompasses surely all Mandalorians. I mean, that's the only counter argument to that. And I do very much enjoy following Din's story with Grogu and following sort of their adventure. But I also love that it's spreading out as well. And like I said, this show, if anything's going to happen in there, you know, that encompasses big, wider implications, then it's going to be the show. And you're getting hints of that throughout this. And it's through the forms of the Rebels and the Empire and the Mandalorians. I mean, these are big factions which seem to be rising again. And, I mean, that's a cliffhanger. With Moff Gideon being saved by Mandalorians, got to know what's going on with the Empire, what's going on with Moff Gideon. Well, I say what we've known, we don't know anything really at all, but there's been talks of him. He's been brought back in the show, and stuff is beginning to happen, which is a good sign. The things which I really did enjoy and appreciated with this chapter was, of course, the sort of rebel pilot mess, and that was Zeb. That was Gara Zeb. That was his voice. It's got to be. And to see him in live action, I'm going to wind that back and watch his scene again. Even though it was tiny, it just made me realise how much I loved Rebels and missed it. Rebels, I'll never forget that sort of feeling of losing Clone Wars and what, we got Rebels? Like, we got this instead, and I didn't quite understand it. And then as it progressed more and more and more, you know, Rebels was just so important, and they were all so familiar, and you just felt a part of it. And even though it was done differently and it's different style, and maybe everything felt a little bit smaller in a strange way, it did harken back to early Star Wars. The storytelling was very, very powerful. The majority of it, I mean, obviously there were some episodes which weren't as strong, and there were things that were changed, but the essence of it, especially with the Darth Maul episode and on the Sith planet as well, that was like a movie to me. I could still go to feel like I can go to cinema and watch that. There were so many strong points with Rebels, so to see that included in live action with the Mandalorian, and it happened with the Mandalorian first, because it's got to happen in Ahsoka. There's got to be Ezra in there. Sabine Wren's going to show up as well, and what a perfect way to bring in this as well. So Yeah, I love those it's sort of bringing everything together, but just bring the right things together. And you know, the thing is, which could happen, is that it can still go down the route of sort of the sequels, but in a very clever way. To maybe something will happen in Ahsoka, and she would go to that time, place, and things might change. But you would still have the formation of the Resistance, but it won't be the Resistance. It would just be the New Republic, and therefore the theme for the Resistance, which we can hear subtly, is being brought forward for this new theme for the Republic, because it is a John Williams theme after all. It is perfection, but it can have a different meaning as opposed to it's the Resistance, send in the bombers, oh dear, they all got exploded, oh, it's the Resistance, send in the X-Wings to blow up the big thing again, oh, it's the Resistance. It's just, if you think of the Resistance, I think of just this. I don't even want to think about it. I just don't want to think about the sequels at all. I think there could be clever ways to sort of move forward and bring meaning to that sort of faction and the build-up of it again, instead of being the Resistance, just be the Republic. And it could go off to so many interesting ways. I don't know if you noticed it as well, but it must have been an animatronic or something like that. But the Nemoidians in, Newt Gunray, in Phantom Menace and the prequels, when he would speak, at least it was sort of in time with him, with his dialogue. But this pirate Davy Jones one, nothing. It was kind of jarring. He was just sort of opening his mouth and different words were coming out. It wasn't even in sync. Maybe they changed the dialogue last minute. I don't know. The whole pirate inclusion there, I love that, and it connected everything, where I thought this is going to be an episode like the Coruscant one where it just spirals off to something else. It all came together. The Mandalorians, the big sense of where the fudge is Moff Gideon, Navarro, the New Republic. I mean, it all had meaning to Navarro, which is what I like. Mandalorians were set up in Navarro. Now they got a chance to build up Navarro and have like a stronghold on there with the greater story of they're actually going to use that as a base to take back Mandalore. I'm not sure from who. They could literally just go there now and start afresh there if the world is breathable. I don't know what's stopping them from doing that, and instead of they're going to do it in Navarro, I don't know why, but that's the only thing that needs setting up, is that there should be a presence on Mandalore. I mean, maybe that was the thing with Moff Gideon. There's factions of Mandalorians already on Mandalore, and Moff Gideon is heavily involved with that. It's an Empire Mandalorian state sort of thing. But we need to sort of know more about that so we can look forward to that more. But I really like that they address the old way of the Mandalorians and, say the different ways. So, the helmet and no helmet thing. Because I found surprising, like, why would you hide Bo-Katan's face, You just wouldn't. And it was good that was done nicely. So she's bringing both Mandalorian parts together. However, I still want it addressed as to why she didn't tell Din that the Mythosaur, helped him. To me, that seems like there's something, that she's holding back, and therefore I can't trust her fully, And that's where I feel like the Mandalorian, maybe this should have been his sort of mission, finding other Mandalorians, as opposed to sort of standing there with Grogu. I mean, it's not progressing him and Grogu as much. So maybe he would go on the adventure with Bo-Katan, but just bring it a little bit back to the Mandalorian, to Din Djarin and Grogu. And I feel like the Grogu thing has just taken a sidestep when his importance for the previous two shows was just, it was massive, and the whole thing, he's a Jedi at the end of it. And there aren't many of those about at the moment, so his importance isn't to be missed, and surely people would still really be going after him. I thought there might be a bit more emphasis on that, a bit more of a threat for trying to find Grogu, and if Moff Gideon's alive, I still think he would try and find Grogu, and certainly want revenge on Din Djarin. So it's good that they showed, they sort of disappeared and vanished, and that's kind of threatening, because he's a very threatening person. So he's sort of going on and off, stuff's happening in the outskirts. And what was he building? More Dark Troopers? There's something interesting going on, but I feel like maybe that should have been just brought forward a little bit earlier on in the season, so we could, you know, we know things could happen. Like, there's enough time throughout to justify his sort of appearance and inclusion later on, so it builds up the threat even further. Those are sort of the things that I'll shuffle around. Like, I wouldn't change anything, it's just a sort of a shuffle, because I really loved this episode. Seeing the Mandalorian, seeing them fight, it was just so satisfying. I don't know why it was, but, you know, we've seen them in other series and everything, but to see them all fighting together and taking out those pirates and off in their jetpacks, it just makes you feel good. And I was really just felt very happy watching that. I think that's probably the word. And I like that it's including sort of all these things. I would shy clear of the Office stuff still, but I mean, you can't really do much about that, I suppose. But yeah, I really do love the whole greater picture which is being formed at the moment. If it doesn't, you know, go in a different direction. I love the sort of formation of these band of, well, I'm going to say rebels again, and there's interactions with their interactions with the Mandalorians. Maybe there could be some sort of unity there later on as well. Zeb, that was so awesome. It looks so good in live action as well. So that's a very special moment. So included a lot of great things in this episode again. And these are the episodes which I can thoroughly enjoy and watch over and over again, like I have with the previous Mandalorian ones as well, except the Coruscant one, of course. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is really good. Let me know your thoughts and predictions for Moff Gideon and where he is and what he's going to be doing and what you enjoyed about this episode. There's always lots to talk about. Just let me know all your thoughts down below. So I hope you enjoyed my reaction. Star Wars Celebration will soon be upon us. It's getting closer and closer, and I feel like I'm getting even more and more less prepared. But yeah, my name's SKYMAN Universe. Hope you enjoyed this. Take care of yourself, and remember, the Force will be with you always.